we are going to move our whole body, get ourselves feeling a bit freer and easier in the joints, in the mind, in our nervous systems. So bring yourself into whatever a comfortable seated position is. Remembering that can be legs crossed, sitting on your shins, sitting on a seat, back supported, back unsupported. We're looking for length in the spine, shoulders relaxed, the back of the hands just resting onto your lap. Can we have the back of the neck nice and long? So check if your chin is dropped forward, pull that in. If you're happy closing your eyes, let your eyes be closed, and if not, just let your gaze drop down to the floor. And have an awareness of your breath. So without changing anything, just what is your breath doing right now? Are you breathing in through the nose or in through the mouth? Is the breath fast? Is it slow? Is it upper chest? Is it down into the lower belly? Is it into the back of the body? Have you been holding your breath? And we're just observing, so we have awareness of where we're at just now, no judgment, just curiosity. Can we take an exhaling breath where we're fully emptying the lungs, or emptying them as much as we possibly can? And then as you're breathing in, can you try and breathe in as fully as possible? So not taking a big breath, we're not doing that kind of breath. We're trying to take a full breath as though you're blowing up a balloon really, really slowly. Letting the breath come right down into the lower lobes of the lungs, and then those lungs being able to fill like balloons into the ribcage. And then as you're breathing out, can you empty as much air out as possible? And again, don't force the air out, slow and controlled. If you're breathing out through your mouth, maybe imagine that you're breathing through a straw and it's just slowly, slowly coming out. And as you start to take this fuller breath, this deeper breath, noticing if there's any resistance, and that resistance might be mental, it might be physical, it might be your clothes, it might be your posture. So if your ribs have dropped down, that's going to influence. If your shoulders are really tight and rounded forward, that's going to restrict the breathing. Your head's tilted forward, that's going to restrict your breathing. Just following that breath in and out. I'm just going to do 2 more breaths here. Trying to keep the breath slow and steady all the way in and all the way out. And at the end of the exhale, if your eyes are closed over, gently flutter the eyes open. Start to wiggle the fingers. Maybe roll the shoulders. Maybe move the skull around. Any instinctual movement that your body's telling you that it wants or needs. And we're going to move into doing our hand massage. So at any point, if you need to change the position you're sitting in to be more comfortable, then please do make the changes. If you're wanting to use any cream or oil, pop a little drop on. And rubbing the hands together. As you start to rub the hands together, I want you to roll the shoulders back and down. Get that tension out of the shoulders. If your head starts to drop forward, can we draw it back in? And if you begin to hold your breath, can you let that go and try and maybe not as deeply and as slowly as we were before, but just an intentional breathing pattern. So you're massaging the oil into the hands, palms of the hands, the back of the hands, getting in around the wrists, and if your sleeves allow, maybe into the forearm. And then work your way up each finger and spend a little bit of time in the space between the fingers, including the webbing. So maybe massaging from the wrist out to the webbing and then press the webbing in. You maybe using your index finger, pressing in and doing one web point at a time to start. And just notice if you're holding any tension there. How do the joints around your fingers feel? We can hold tension in our body in surprising places. It's good to explore what's going on for us on each day. If any of the webbing parts feel particularly tight, you might hang out there and just press in, maybe little pulse presses to try and release, particularly if you wear jewellery. So I've noticed that between the two fingers that I wear rings on, that webbing is particularly tight. And where my rings have been, my skin's indented and that's the fascia has been restricted there and it's tight. And tension and tightness just in this little point here could then present as an issue somewhere else in your body. We try and not miss. We try and explore, see what we can find. When you've done one hand, you can move over to the other, but there's never any rush. And if there's a point that you want to go back to, then feel free to just go back. You might notice that your right hand has different tension points than the left hand, just because of how we hold things, how we maneuver. And as you're concentrating on this, if you've started to hold your breath, can you let it go? And then once you've worked both hands, and there's no rush if you want to spend longer doing this, once you have, can you link the fingers and give that a squeeze? Now, as you're squeezing the fingers, can you check that you've not held tension in the shoulders? So maybe just roll them off a little bit. Notice how your fingers are linked. We're going to switch it all over to the other side. Give that a squeeze. And then link it back, and then press the palms out. And then bring it in, change the link the other way, and press the palms out. And then bring it in, make fists, and spread the fingers. And fists, and spread the fingers. And fists, and spread the fingers. And we're going to plant the hands down onto the ground. And just going to press in and just have a little wiggle from one hand to the other. You might want to shift the weight forward, take the weight back. So if your wrists are really tight, you might have your hands a bit further away from you. We're not looking to cause any pain, but we're exploring where you're experiencing pain. You might want to circle round here and then circle the other way. And then we're going to rotate the hands so that the fingers are pointing behind. Now here, I want you to have a tiny bend in your elbows, just so that you're not hyperextending the elbows. So slight bend in the elbows. And that might mean you need to change the position of your hands. You might want to take them further back. You might want to bring them further forward. But just noticing how you feel up through the wrist and up through the forearm on this inner part. How does that feel? Are you holding tension? Does a little wiggle from side to side feel nice here? If it feels really comfortable, if you edge your hands forward slightly, create a bit more of a stretch. And again, we're not trying to cause pain, we're exploring what kind of movement we have available. And then let's bring the back of the hands down onto the floor. So trying to get as much of the back of your hand onto the floor as you can. You might want to rest your elbows on your knees. And then we turn the fingers towards each other, still with the back of the hands on the floor. And then turning the fingers behind us, still with the back of the hands on the floor. And then turning the fingers away from each other. And then bringing that up and just circle at the wrists. And changing direction. Let's give the hands a shake off. A couple of deep breaths in as you're shaking the hands. And then we're going to move our positioning so that we can access our feet. If your trousers allow, maybe shift them up a bit so that you can get in around the bottom of the shin at the ankle joint. And then if you're using a cream or oil, little drop on, start to rub the foot, warming it up. Noticing the temperature of your foot, noticing the texture. Noticing how the sole of your foot feels, massaging in, particularly in around the arches, because there are more than one in your foot. So you've got the main arch from the pad, the big toe to the heel. You've got your arch from the pinky toe to the heel. Then between the ball of the foot, between that big toe and little toe, there's another arch there, and then there's another two arches right in the centre. So having a feel around, noticing how things in there are feeling. How is your heel bone feeling? How is around that area feeling? And then let's go to the top of the foot. So coming into the spaces between the toes, up the top of the foot and around the ankle bone. And then let's go to each toe individually. Pulling the toe long and circling around. A few circles one way, a few circles the other. And just making your way across the toes. Notice if you've started to hold your breath, and if you have, can you let that go? And then with your index finger pressing down in between the toes. And then into the next space between the toes. So just like we did with the fingers, we're working in between each of the toe sets, individually pressing down into the webbing, noticing if there's any tension. And if you've gone through each of those spaces from the sole of the foot, try it from the top as well. So take the index finger and press down from the top of the foot. Sometimes when you approach it from a different angle, it feels very different. And then once you've done that, and again, no rush if you want to spend longer here, you can start to slide the fingers through and out. And then can you take hands with your foot? Take your other hand to the back of the foot, just at the base of the ankle. We're going to pull the toes long, and then can we wring the foot out? And then keep the fingers in between the toes, take the other hand away, and we're going to circle the ankle around. So using the hands, trying to let the foot and ankle be as passive as possible. And then change the direction. And then releasing the fingers in between the toes. And we will adjust to the other side. If your trousers allow it, slide them up a touch, and then getting this foot warmed up. And again, noticing the arches. How do they all feel on this foot? How is your heel bone feeling? How is the top of the foot feeling and around the ankle? How is your breath? And then let's go to each toe. Pull the toe long, circle it around. A couple of circles in each direction. And then index finger pressing down into the space between the toe. Noticing the webbing. And coming from the bottom of the foot through each toe and also through the top. And then sliding the fingers through and out. And then can you take hands with your foot, other hand to the ankle. Can we pull the toes long? Can we wring the foot out? Keeping the fingers between the toes, take the other hand away and circle at your ankle. And gently releasing the fingers from the toes. And let's change our position. So we're going to sit with our legs at a 90-90. So start by sitting on both butt cheeks. And have one knee pointing to the side, other knee sliding in so that the knee's roughly around the same space as the heel. With both your butt cheeks on the floor, notice how much this front leg is lifted. Also notice how this back leg, how the hip feels. Then we're going to let both the knees rest into the floor, and that might lift your butt cheek here. Let it happen. And just notice how that feels. Again, notice how this feels around the back hip. Can we send the back side down towards the ground if it's lifted? You might be very mobile here and both your butt cheeks are on the floor and both the knees are on the floor. If that is the case, just make sure that you're sitting up tall and can you have some steady breaths. But if you are lifted, can we create a little bit of movement here? So we're sending the tailbone back. Now, if you've not got a lot of movement here, just that thought of moving the energy of your hip bone back can help start to untangle. It will also give you a better idea. Is this muscle fascia that's tight, or is this the structure of the bones and how they sit into how your hip and thigh bone sits into the pelvic bowl? So what kind of movement do you have there? And then let's lean back, bring the knees all the way up, take them over to the other side. So we'll start with back side, steady. So on this side, I'm significantly tighter. Neither of my knees are near the floor. So just breathing into that. And then can we take both knees to the floor? Notice how much the hip lifts. And then can we start to work with the hip going back? And again, you might be both butt cheeks on the floor, both knees on the floor. Just make sure that you feel really comfortable and take a few breaths in and out. We're never forcing anything, never want to cause pain. And also we don't have expectation of this shouldn't look like a particular thing. Everybody's body is different. The history of your movement's different. We're exploring what feels right for you and your own body. And then we're going to lean back. And I want you to think about starting this movement from the feet. So we're going to get the feet, plant the edges of the feet down, and then start to take the feet to roll onto the soles of the feet. That's going to then pull on the shin, pull on the knee, pull on the thigh bone. Now, as you're leaning back, I want you to check if your shoulders are up around your ears. Can you go long so we're not hanging out in the joint? Keep pressing the feet down. And then you're going to roll onto the other edge of the foot. So have this movement controlled from the feet as you come over to the other side. So starting from the feet, pressing the feet in, using the feet to pull the shin, pull the knee, pull the thigh bone up, and go over to the other sides. Pressing the foot in, bringing it up. Now, as you're doing this and you're concentrating on the movement, check in every now and again with the posture. So notice if you've started to slide down into those shoulders. Notice if you've started to hold the breath. So it might be as you get to your end point, if you have been holding your breath, it's just to take an inhale, and as you exhale, start the movement. Maybe as you come through the center, you're ready for an inhale. And then as you're exhaling, you're moving over to the other side. So we can start to use that exhaling breath for those of us that are holding tension to signal to the body, this movement's intentional. What we're doing is perfectly safe. We can let the parasympathetic nervous system kick in so that we can get into that relaxed state to let go of the unnecessary tension. When we hold our breath, we're in that fight and flight, we're in that sympathetic nervous system space, so our body's never going to relax and let go because it thinks we're in danger. The exhaling breath is really important when we're going into a posture. But we don't want to also, to keep us safe, we don't want to be forcing our way in on that exhaling breath or moving too fast and without any sense of control, because that's when we can overstretch the body. So it's finding that nice balance, that sweet spot with the movement. Now the next time we come over, we're going to hang out here and then play around with our upper body position. So we'll maybe sit up and start to lean over the front leg and see where, as you start to lean forward, can we keep the spine long so we're not slumping down, keeping the chin drawn in. Can we start to lean forward and notice where we might be feeling tension, where the problems, if we have any, might be arising. And then you might shift towards the ankle. You might start to move towards the back leg. You might even turn completely away from it. And almost like you're trying to look around over your shoulder. So play around with this upper body positioning. Just trying to think about keeping the spine long so that there's space between the discs. Because if we're slumped, then that's going to really restrict that movement. So can we stay long, create space between the discs, move around. can we feel where we might be finding tension? Can we also notice that as we start to move, maybe this butt cheek starts to follow and really lifts up? So can we keep thinking about sending that back, keeping length in the waist, keeping length in the spine? And then when you feel ready to, and you can always come back to this side. When you feel ready to, we're going to come lean back. We're going to lead with the feet. So pulling the feet, letting the knees, the thigh bones follow, going up and over to the other side. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. We'll have a play around. Now, if you get to this side and you think, oh, everything's moving really freely, really easily here, but the other side I felt more stiff and sticky, then go back to the other side. But you might also get here and think, oh, this is my sticky side. Then you can stay here. So you might rock in and out of the movements. Going to use that breath. Keeping the length in the spine, having a notice. What feels nice, what feels sticky. If anything feels really unpleasant or feels painful, you always back away from it. Don't want to cause any injury or aggravate any disturbance. If we can play around on the edges of it, then it can let that pain and tension go. And then when you are ready, we're going to bring ourselves back to the middle. So leaning back, lead with the feet, bring the knees into the centre. Now from here, we're going to gently roll ourselves down onto the floor. If you need to shift yourself to get onto your mat in a better position, do. Roll the spine down. So maybe hook the hands into the legs so that you can control this movement. Down. Let the spine come down into the floor. Just let the body arrange itself. Lift and lower the shoulders as much as you need to get comfortable, the pelvis as much as you need to get comfortable. Let the soles of the feet settle in. Have the arms down to the sides of the body with the palms faced up. So we did this a little bit in Pilates yesterday. We're going to maybe spend a little bit more time here and be a bit slower with the movement. With the back of the hand rested on the floor, palms up. On an exhale, let's start to slide the hands away from the body. So we're making a snow angel, but I want you to go really slowly. And as you're going out, I want you to try and keep your ribs tucked in and your chin drawn in so that the back of the neck's staying long. And when you start to meet a tiny bit of resistance, I want you to stop there and just let the body rest. Let the arms really soften into the floor. Take a couple of deep breaths in and out. And then on your next exhale, you're going to see if you can continue to move without that resistance. So if you start to meet resistance again, you're just going to stop, take an inhale, let the exhale, let the body soften and melt into the floor, trying to release any tension. And then maybe on the next exhale, can you move out a little bit further? And if you find that you can't, then bring your arms all the way back to the start position. Take an inhale there, and then as you exhale, can you slow and controlled move out? And you might find that you go a bit further than you did the previous time. You might bring your arms back. And then on the next exhale, go out wide again. Are we still keeping the ribs tucked in? Are we noticing if the chin's pulling away from the chest? And if it is, can we drop it back down? And we're looking to use that breath to work with the nervous system. Using that exhale, that signal to the parasympathetic nervous system that we're safe to make this movement. Then we're going to have the arms, if we can, so that the wrists are roughly in line with the shoulders. So our arms are out in this T shape. And then we're going to take both the knees over towards the left. And let your head turn to the left as well. So we're not turning the head away from the knees just now. I'm going to bend the elbow of the right arm and pick that right arm up and bring it over to let the hands meet. So you're lying on your side, hands are stacked, legs might be slightly stacked. Then we're going to lift that right arm, right leg, lifting them up and starting to take them out wide. So we're taking the arm, and with the right leg, when the left leg starts to pull and starts to want to follow, then we bring that with us. And then we bring that left arm when it feels like it's starting to pull and wants to join. And then the left arm, left leg, we lift them up. We take them back to where they came from, nice and slowly. And then when the right leg, right arm want to join in, we can let them come. So just this nice, smooth, soft, gentle movement, lifting the right arm, right leg up, taking it over. Let the left leg follow when it wants. Bring the left arm when it starts to pull. And then we're going to take that left arm, left leg back. We're going to let the right side, the right leg follow, but we're going to keep the right arm where it is. And we're going to turn the head away from the knees. You're in a bit of a twist. Now, if this feels uncomfortable in the lower back, just maybe shift the hips, maybe take the right leg a bit further back. Can you breathe into the available space in your body? Can you feel that internal stretch with the inhale and the body softening with the exhale? And like we did when we were in the seated position, we're going to lead from the feet, rolling the feet so that you're coming over the soles, bringing the knees through the centre, and then you're going to take the knees over to the other side and turning your head away from the knees. So you've just taken that twist the other way. And can you breathe into the ribcage? And then at the end of the next exhale, rolling from the feet, bringing the knees back into centre, bring the head back to centre. Pick one foot up, bring that knee in, hug the knee in, pick the other leg up and onto the shin, hug the knee in. If you can't comfortably reach the shins, maybe hands are just on the knees, maybe they're on the sides of the thighs. Have the knees wide and use one hand to use your right hand to pull your right knee over, and then your left hand to pull your left knee over to rock the weight from side to side. Maybe trying to walk the pelvis a bit further down the mat, creating space in the lower back. Just letting the spine settle into the floor. And then let it settle in the centre. One hand on each kneecap, and let's circle the knees around. We're massaging the lower back and the SI joints into the floor. And then change the direction of that. Let that settle in the centre. Use your left hand and circle the left leg. Do a couple of circles by itself. And then the right hand, circling that right leg round, a couple of circles by itself. And then back to the left hand. If you remember which way you went with the circles, can you change the direction? And then the same on the right. And then you might want to stick with doing alternative legs, or you might want to bring both legs and maybe circle them away from each other. And then change the direction. And then let one foot come down onto the floor. Let the other foot come down onto the floor. So we're going to start to get ready to move into relaxation. Before we get there, if there's any other movement that you want to give your body, maybe you feel like you just want to have a nice big stretch out. Maybe you want to do a few more twists and turns. Maybe there's something else that we haven't done today that your body's really crying out for. So give yourself those movements, whatever it is that you need. And then when you're ready to, I'm going to bring your blankets over you, any pillows under your knees, under your head, any support that you need there to feel settled, to feel comfortable. And I will take you through your relaxation and then leave you there for as long as you need. Getting settled, checking in with your body from the crown of the head to the tips of the toes. Does anything need to be moved or adjusted so that you can feel more comfortable for the remainder of today's session? Can you bring your awareness to your breath like we did at the very start of the practice? And observing any differences, any changes to your breathing pattern, to your breathing rhythm. Maybe any changes to the depth of the breath. If there were any restrictions, are they still there? Have they shifted? And again, those restrictions can be physical, they can be mental. If it's your clothes, then your clothes are your clothes. Unless you've stretched it during the session, clothes will still be there. Have another check-in with your body. See if, as you've settled, if anything needs to be adjusted or shifted to allow you to remain comfortable through the rest of the session. I'm going to invite you to set an intention, something that you wish to cultivate more of in your life. I'm going to set this intention as I am, and then add something positive on to that. And if nothing particular comes to mind, I am is a complete sentence. You can use that. Allow something to come through, and then I am, and repeat whatever it is to yourself 3 times with feeling, certainty, and awareness. We're going to take a trip throughout the body, allowing the mind to jump from one part to the next. Bringing your awareness into your right hand, into the thumb, the second finger, third, fourth, fifth, the palm of the hand, the back of the hand, the wrist, the forearm, the elbow, the upper arm, the shoulder, the armpit, the waist, hip, thigh, knee, calf muscle, ankle, heel, sole of the foot, top of the foot, right toes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Move your awareness to the left hand, into the thumb, second finger, third, fourth, fifth, palm of the hand, back of the hand, wrist, lower arm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder, armpit, waist, hip, thigh, knee, calf muscle, ankle, heel, sole of the foot, top of the foot, left toes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take your awareness to the back of the body and to the back of the head where it touches to the floor. Back of the head, right shoulder blades, left shoulder blades, the spine, right buttock, left buttock, back of the right thigh, back of the left thigh, back of the right calf, back of the left calf, the right heel, the left heel. And now move your awareness to the top of the body, and we'll start at the top of the head. Top of the head, forehead, both sides of the head, right eyebrow, left eyebrow, eyebrow centre, right eyelid, left eyelid, right eye, left eye, right ear, left ear, right cheek, left cheek, right nostril, left nostril, upper lip, lower lip, chin, jaw, throat, right collarbone, left collarbone, right chest, left chest, middle of the chest, upper abdomen, lower abdomen, the navel, right groin, left groin, right thigh, left thigh, right kneecap, left kneecap, right shin, left shin, right ankle, left ankle, right toes, left toes, the whole of the right arm, the whole of the left arm, both arms together, the whole of the right leg, the whole of the left leg, both legs together, the whole of the front and back together, the whole of the head together, the whole body, the whole body, the whole body. Have full awareness of your body and the contact points it has with the floor. Awareness of body and awareness of breath. Bring that awareness into the breath and notice the gentle and subtle movements that occur in synchronization with the breath. As you breathe in, notice how the belly and the chest rise. And as you breathe out, notice how they soften. A gentle and soft movement that happens with no effort, just the natural rhythm and flow of the breath. To bring into mind that intention that you set at the start of this session. Repeat that intention again in the same short, positive I am statement, repeating it to yourself with maximum feeling, awareness, and certainty. Relax all efforts. Start to become familiar with the position that your body is lying in on the floor and starting to become aware of your surroundings. Listening carefully for any sounds that you can hear. And as you start to bring more awareness into your body and into your environment, you might want to start to create some small movements into your body. Maybe wiggling the fingers, wiggling the toes, stretching your body out, hugging your knees in. Anything at all that feels nice in your body. You might want to come to lie on your left side for a few rounds of breath. I'll leave you here now to take your own time bringing yourself round. And then when you feel ready to, you can sit yourself up and open your eyes. And then today's session will be complete. Thank you so much.